has there been a major change in the way talent has been acquired these days vis-a-vis the talent used to be acquired in past and building up? Has it got tougher? Has it got easier? Are there more mechanisms to motivate people, or they have reduced? Tell me something about them.
Don't create job descriptions like an expecting a god to hire.
So, if you may have to, give one advice on the change management, I heard you all. Is there anything that you want to say on succession planning as well? Is there anything that you could throw light on?
Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying money is not important, but what is important from a long term, because career is always long term. It is never short term.
I think one more question which I would have in your professional journey, which you could have experienced, was how to deal with difficult behaviors.
When you look for a position or a role, you say, I need 10 years experience, 15 years experience, 20 years of experience. Don't go by that number.
Today we are meeting with yet another personality who has been 2 decades into the profession, and he would be telling about different professions, how to handle them at one go in one position. He has been a person with 2 decades of experience in the field of finance, operations, as well as technical side. He has been into the industry, which we will elaborately understand, because he has worked with different industries. As a leadership role person, he has taken the leadership programs from Harvard, IIT, IIM. So we are going to talk to him as to how the leadership has been easy or tough after taking those leadership courses. We are also going to learn from him as to what were the challenges in terms of being there at that position of senior director. Let's talk to him. Meet Mr. Sudhir Dasamantharao. Did I pronounce it right, Sudhir?
Yes, Shachi.
So Sudhir has been heading this position in Boston Scientific. Welcome, Sudhir, for our podcast, for our interview conversation, as an open discussion on what traits they help people in meeting different challenges in different functions.
Shachi, thank you for the opportunity. My pleasure to be on this podcast along with you. I think everyone will start small and learn over a period of time in terms of what is right, what is wrong, what works, what doesn't work. Like young professional, I started my career in finance roles with banking industry for almost a decade, doing multiple roles. Companies like banks I work with, American Express, HSBC, Capital Bank. Great learning. One thing I always encourage at the beginning of your career, don't run behind money, run behind skills, run behind developing new capabilities. And that's what I did. From a financial professional to did a master black belt in Six Sigma, agile certifications, where you try to expand new capabilities and new skills and not stick to just one area. And that's how I'm able to expand my experience, not only within the country, I worked within India, but also globally and also across various functions. Now I manage different functions, whether it's a finance, HR operations, supply chain, beyond the core, right? And I'm able to do that because, one, the agility is important. Second, moving out of your comfort and taking something challenging is important. When you get challenged and when you accept challenges, it is tough for sure, but the immense learning what you get from that experience, practically managing it and working with different kind of industries, with different kind of people or different personalities will teach you a lot. And that's how really, it helped me where I am today.
Great. So I see that you have a very big team because you are handling so many operations and so many functions. What is your team size?
Around 350 plus, both locations in India as well as in China.
Wow, wonderful. So, if we talk about your journey for the last 2 decades, what has been your most difficult experience in these functions, and which function you have found more difficult?
It is not about the function. I think it is all about uh, every time you join an organization, it is about understanding the culture of the organization. Because moving from a banking industry to consulting, and from consulting to manufacturing or medical devices, it's very different because the way the expectations, the priorities, the way the business is run is very different from industry to industry. Function more or less, whether you're managing a finance function or HR function, you'll always have a team, who knows the technicality and they will drive it. But in leadership role, one thing to remember is, you need to have a clarity of thought. What is that you want to drive as a leader? And the new environment what you join, you need to understand what kind of people you're dealing with, what kind of expectations do they have, and day it is all about results, delivering results, right? So I think the challenge is always about having a sense of the organization, understanding the people aspirations, understanding what your customers or stakeholders are looking for you and your team to deliver on. And these are critical aspects. To me, doesn't matter whether you're managing a finance function or HR function or operations, as long as fundamentally you keep in mind these important elements of focusing as a leader, setting up the right expectations, right culture is very important. And the freedom to operate for your teams is also very, very important.
So, since you said that you are managing so many functions, one question which comes to my mind is, when we handle so many functions together, is there more on the routine side that you need to put your time on, or on the decision making more?
I think it's a balance between both, right? Because you'll be managing your stakeholders upwards. There is the teams which are working for you, and then your peers, right, in any organization. So you need to know how to navigate that, right? Understanding as a leader, what is your stakeholders above you are looking at from you, because the finance priorities will be very different from HR priorities. The priorities of an operations will be very different. So one, you need to understand and able to articulate your teams what those functional priorities are. And in the leadership roles, I call it 3 C's are very important. 3C, I define it. One, as a leader, you need to have the clarity of the thought or a vision, that you want to achieve. Second, once you have the clarity, you need to be able to communicate, which is the second C. And the communication has to be very clear and precise. Usually in corporate jargons, you either confuse people or convince people. So you need to be very clear in terms of that communication. The third C is about collaboration. You need to know how to collaborate in the given, um, situations, how the organizations are changing, how the coordinations are evolving, the complexities of challenges we are dealing with. When I started my career 2 decades back and what I see now, the jobs are changing, the skill sets are changing. When you need to adapt at the same time, right, and the time is limited for everyone, whatever role you're playing, you need to be very cautious about how do you collaborate with the ecosystem, how do you be articulate in your communication, and your clarity of thought of connecting dots across in those senior leadership positions is very, very critical. That's what I keep advising people, that build that element of clarity of thought. Don't drive people unnecessarily crazy and put pressure on them.
Wonderful. So we see 3 C's which call for clarity, communication, and collaboration. Where
Absolutely.
communication, you are saying that either you confuse or you convince. That was interesting because most of the time, people, since they are not clear, they confuse people even if they are communicating.
Yeah.
And that makes it more critical that if you're really, really clear, only then the communication goes straight, and then only you're able to convince people in the right direction, because otherwise you will just create confusions and more questions, into the whole gamut of issues which are already there.
Yeah.
Right? Very well said. Um, Now, see, we all know that when we change organization, there's a lot to do on the change management. There's a lot to do on what is required to handle those changes which are happening day to day, year on year, or because of the culture changes or because of the leadership changes. Have you been a part of the change management anytime in organization? And if yes, what do you think are the challenges in any change management, and how do you think you have approached them?
This is one important element as a leaders. You are a transformation leader. You need to drive transformation in your organizations. And what I want to bring attention to the audience as well is, as a human beings, we all are human beings. We only wear these titles in our roles. But fundamentally, as a human beings, when we see the change, right, we accept it. When we see the change, we accept it. When we feel the change, we resist it. I think this is what people have to understand. What I mean by that is, when people are seeing the change is coming in a direction, they slowly try to accept. I'll give a classic example as an anomaly of in terms of the weather. When we see a weather of autumn to spring where the leaves are changing the colors, we all enjoy those beautiful leaves, the beauty of the scenery. We accept the change coming through. When it is heavily raining or it's a heavy snow, a change, it is a change too from a climate point of view, but we resist it by wearing, winter warmers and umbrellas and all. So fundamentally, what I'm trying to say is people have to understand as human behavior first when you try the change management. So when you show the change in an organization that, yeah, that change is for the positive, it's good. Uh, those are the things which are important in terms of people have to understand. And in my whole professional experience, when a change happens, people think that it is impairing their opportunities. But if you have a positive leader, when you believe in your capabilities and the confidence and the courage with you lead your professional career, see these as an opportunities and opportunities to learn in the change management process. And I created a framework from my own experience about A, B, C, D, E. I call it five simple A, B, C, D, E. If you can just remember these, that will help in any change management process. Now, I'll explain what I meant by this simple A, B, C, D, E. These are the five alphabets. If people can remember, that's a great going for them. So A is the agility. So agility is very, very important in any change management. B is be proactive. In any change management, people think and wait the change to happen. And I always ask people, are you really, you know, reframing your future, or is the future reframing you? That is very important. So people who are proactive, be proactive, they actually reframe the future. They don't let the future reframe them. C is curious. When the change is happening, be an active participant, ask questions to understand why the change is happening and how you can really be part of the change rather than waiting to see what's going to happen, or sitting on a wall. Either you resist or you support, but be curious in the organizational transformation. D is all about in terms of diligent. Diligence is when the change is happening, people get dissatisfied. They drop the ball. They make mistakes. Don't let that happen. Be diligent with the work. Continue doing the right thing when you're whatever you're doing. And E is extremely positive. That is the toughest part for anyone because everyone is fearing what's going to happen with me or for me, right? Keep aside what's in it for you. Look at to be part of this A, B, C, D, E process, the five powerful processes for any change management. If you're curious, you are diligent, you are, agile, you are proactive, be proactive and extremely positive. These ABCD are simple, powerful tools that are played over a period of time and help be part of the change or be leader of the change rather than the receiver of the change. And that's a big difference in the thinking. If people think that, oh, someone is driving, no one is going to drive. There are always the controllables and non-controllables. When in a leadership position or irrespective of the role what we are performing, worry about the controllables what you have. Don't let those drop. Don't worry about uncontrollables. So that's what people do in terms of and messing up things in the organization. So that will be kind of my guidance in terms of how you look at managing the change management, and be respectful when those changes are happening to the people around. I think that's
Wonderful. So
important.
I see the A, B, C, D, E, and how it resonates with different things. As you said, agility, you said be proactive, you said curious. There have been a lot of programs which people are coming up with in our learning and development space where they say that, our team is less curious. We want the curiosity to be developed. We want the creative team to have critical thinking, creative thinking, so that we are able to have new innovations in line, so that we are able to generate, teams which are able to stand alone, and the support systems are, built up on the basis of new ideas. Very, 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 I would say, apt on all these points, and I'm completely on this agreement. Diligent, yes, because unless that focus is there, you would not be able to, beat the bush. You'll keep beating the bush if the focus is not there. I mean, so diligency, of course, is important. Extremely positive. I think positive itself is, like it, people say that, common sense is the most uncommon thing these days. In the same way, positive itself, sometimes we tend to get negative and then we have to pull ourselves back. Then let me not get negative. Let me try thinking. And when you are saying extremely positive, that means, you don't have to leave the focus at all on being positive every time there is a change management.
Yeah, one thing I want to add, Sachi, is you mentioned, you can train people on curiosity. You can talking about trainings on, innovation, collaboration. Believe me, you can't train adults the way you can train the child.
No,
The
that's
reason I
true.
say is fundamentally, if the individual doesn't have a passion to change, passion to learn, these trainings will never help. It will be like another sponsored program by a company, and people come and say, "Okay, I'm relieved from my, day-to-day operations and headaches. My manager have asked me to join this training, so I'm joining." The mindset have to change in the people. The reason I was able to do so many certifications and still continue to study and learn is because my own passion of driving to know new things, learn and be updated. As long as people think that I'm going for the training is because my manager gave me a feedback in the year end saying that you need to develop these skills, believe me, you will never learn those skills unless there is self-realization in the individual that this is for my good. This is what I want to do. You can't develop any curiosity by just creating. So I always tell people that there is always a purpose and passion. When these two match, excellence comes out. So one have to be really passionate in everything they do. They can't just come to office saying that, this is the job, I need to earn, so I need to work. When people come out of that, they will be like altogether different people in the organization.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think for those people who truly, truly, believe that unless they are passionate about what they are doing, they will not be able to add value. One, they'll not be able to enjoy the journey. They will not be able to do good and justice to what they are there for. I truly resonate with this, and that is the reason one of our programs says passion and profession. How do you make it one? There's a very, very strong principle of Pareto principle of 80-20, where you say that, the
Yeah,
whole concentration is on those 20% where 80% revenue comes. So
yeah,
in the same way, I would say that if these programs are done and out of 10 people, if two turn curious and if two change, it's a hit program.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, but I mean, so what happens sometimes is that we are so much into our routines that we stop really unlearning those things which are not, helping us in any way, and stop learning those which are open, which are easy, which comes very easy to us.
yeah,
I truly understand that. But having said that, I still would suggest and I would still say that organizations taking a lead in investing their time and money into developing skills of people is very important, because that is something which will give them a focus on what they're doing. Because if they choose the programs themselves, there's a high chance that they may not choose the right program. There's a high chance that it may not work in the direction of their profession, because that
Yeah.
is also equally important. If you ask a person who is interested in music, he would take a program on music rather than taking a program for professional skills.
Yeah.
But if organization is taking, definitely there's a chance that his professional skills will grow.
You're right. All the time trying to put the point is organization and leaders want to invest in the talent. They want to develop the talent. It is like taking the horse to the water. You can't make the horse drink. All the times my advice to professionals is organization will take you to the water, but it's a
Correct.
horse to the drink, which means every organization, show me an organization which will not invest in talent. I'll be surprised. There's a lot of L&D budget. There is a lot of, capability building, because the technology is changing, the way working is changing. Everyone wants good talent. But if the individual is not ready to change, it is difficult for that individual, right? So that's the point I want to drive for the professionals that, and again, this is where I
Since
also
this
advise.
point, since this point is made up by you, I would like to ask: has there been a major change in the way talent has been acquired these days, vis-a-vis the talent used to be acquired in past, and building up? Has it got tougher? Has it got easier? Are there more mechanisms to motivate people, or they have reduced? Tell me something about them.
So talent acquisition is always tricky, right? In that half an hour interview or 30 minutes interview, you'll try to judge, right? But eventually you don't know whether you're, banking on the right horse or not. And that's what I think sometimes the kind of questions you ask really matters, right? What are you judging? And you might have seen Sachi, and I keep telling a lot of HR folks, when you write a job description in an organization, you literally, if you read the job description, it looks like you're hiring a god. I mean, you put so many things in that job description that you're actually, I mean, it is humanly not possible to everyone to have everything, right? Now, in the talent post aspects, one thing I always guide people is that don't write so much in the job description, because when someone joins the job, show me an example where you actually do those kind of things which you commit to that candidate. It'll never, right? Second important element is that you write what is must to have. What are the 3-4 critical things you need that skill to have, right? And this is an example I keep giving to people. When you're hiring at certain different level of roles, because the hiring happens at certain levels, like a junior level, mid-level, senior level, the competency what you look at or experience what you look at. For example, I'm hiring a fresher. What will I expect from the fresher? I don't ask the questions of what I'm asking for a senior executive. Fresher, what I see is always a passion to learn, passion to do something different. How sharp that person is. You don't look for experience, right? So it all depends on your career. Don't write complicated JDs and give it to the hiring team or talent team and the placement companies saying that, oh, I need this. I mean, they will give thousands of professionals, because you talk about AI matching jobs. It is the word matching they do in the profile, right? You say collaboration is one skill. How do you judge collaboration? How do you assess the collaboration skills of the individual in that 30 minutes interview?
I think because of these job descriptions being so elaborate, people have started putting so much in their resumes also.
And I'll be surprised. There are like a 5 years people experience. I see the resume of 5 pages. I mean, what are you trying to do? Right? So that is again an art of putting your competencies in the right structure. There are a lot of resume writers these days. That's a big business, right? So all I'm trying to say is there is no one formula for you to really define a talent acquisition. It is all about what is that 1 or 2 critical things you're looking at. That clarity is important. That's what I always come to, the clarity of thought in your own organization, in your own mind.
Yeah, I mean, I was seeing the other day. True, I was seeing the other day one, JD, where they said that a CFO is required with about 5 to 10 years of experience. He should have signed the 1,000 crore balance sheet. He should have had a team experience. He should be ready to raise the funds. He should be. I mean, there was nothing on the earth which he would not have done.
Absolutely. That's what I keep telling people, that don't create job descriptions like an expecting a God to hire. You don't find. It doesn't matter which part of the world you are hiring. I hope I answered your question.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So, yeah. So, typically, what we are trying to say is that if we want good talents, we must be accurately defining with clarity what are the skills that we require,
Yeah,
so that, people coming with bigger resumes will not be hired. They will be hired if they have those two skills which are required for that position. That would ease up a lot of resume screening. That would ease up a lot of time in terms of how many more numbers interviews need to be lined up. That's completely right.
yeah. Also, one thing I'll add here, Sachi, is again from my experience. When you look for a position or a role, you say, I need 10 years experience, 15 years experience, 20 years of experience. Don't go by that number. Look at quality of experience, not quantity of experience. That is another big mistake people make in hiring. For example, there might be one person doing the same role for 10 years. And usually in banking industry, that's what happened. They do the same job, and then they, in the resume they write, I have 10 plus years of experience. If you ask the variety of experience they have, the quality of experience they have, complexity of projects they've dealt with, that's where they, will be shot down. So what I encourage people always is, don't sit in your comfort zone. Look for, don't add, like there is a saying, right? Don't add years to your life. Add, you know, quality of experience to your profile. So that is more important. So it is not about saying my profile is like, I have 15 years of experience. Basics they can't even answer because they all just don't have the variety of the diversity of experience, diversity of industry, diversity of dealing with different complex people. So those all matters.
With diversity, I have another thing which used to be a taboo some time back, that you cannot hop jobs so easily. People being there for 5 to 6 months, an year, and then they hop the jobs. That was not considered to be so good back then. And now, if you see the resumes, people hop jobs because one reason could be that they want to create diversity, they want to have different experiences. Second could be that when you hop on the jobs, the salary rises. There's a big jump which you get, which otherwise organizations are not even able to give over the experiences.
Yeah, you're right, Sachi. I think one thing I also advise professionals is, don't change jobs for money. This is, I mean, I see people changing for 2 lakhs. I don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying money is not important, but what is important from a long term, because career is always long term. It is never short term, right? When you want to build a long term career, you build on quality of experience. If you're changing your job or taking a role which is different than what you've done in the past. For example, I change jobs when I'm moving from a finance role to a quality role because I want that quality, head experience. When you are Master Black Belt Six Sigma, don't do certifications for sake of certifications. You have to perform that role. That's when you actually add value and learn more practically, right? So that's how you change jobs for getting an experience. When you build a value and look at every, whether you like it or not, every individual is a brand in the market. Someone is paying you for that salary because the brand and the value associated with you. Why is someone is paid an X amount and why is someone is paid Y amount? Is because that is the differentiator that individual is bringing in. So in professional career, one have to think at what is that you differentiate from others. That is very important. That is experience. It is not about just adding number of years to your professional career.
Yeah,
It is a
absolutely. I get
quality
it.
of
I get it.
experience. Yeah,
Absolutely.
quality of experience matters.
So, if we talk about those people where they have very huge experience in the sense 7 years, 10 years, the importance of asking right questions, taking to understand them in right attitude, whether they'll fit into the culture. Because all senior roles these days, the three most important things which I feel is, one, whether the attitude is right, open and receptivity in the mind is there. The second thing is about whether that person will be able to adjust into the culture,
Yeah,
seamlessly.
correct.
Third is he bringing anything more than what we already had?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
unless that value addition is there, the senior roles they cannot pick up. And of course, transparency, ownership are the two things for senior roles.
Yeah.
But what I see these days for a normal change management is that when the hiring happens at a bulk of 50, 100 people, the quality and the remunerations which are given, they don't have parity. Like the person who cannot finish the job and who has given a resume which is flowery, though the interview has gone little here and there, but you would still get a job of the same money because you are hiring so many people, you need so many people.
Yeah.
um, and the organization would say, probably it's okay if, even if he's performing less, because we need people right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe because of that, some people who would not have the experience also, they would have the salary which is like when they come on board, you get to know that, oh, he was paid so much and he doesn't even know this much. These things are there, and because of that, it becomes more difficult for the organizations to create parity, to create an atmosphere, culture where people are not, is able to absorb, oh, how he's not able to do this, but he's still getting the same salary, which I'm getting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, completely. So, any strong challenges which you feel that you have really struggled in your professional life on those?
So challenging is obviously when you're in the leadership role, you try to build teams, right? And as I mentioned, if you don't have a team, who are trusted, who are passionate, want to grow, want to succeed, I think that's people is always challenging to judge, right? When you're building large centers. I mean, in my career, I built large centers in India, in outside India, large operation centers in China, in Poland, and different countries. So when you deal with different cultures, when you're creating large teams like this, it's always difficult to understand what people really want, what is it they're looking up to. So it's always good to take a pause. And initially, that's where I struggled, because you need to understand the culture first, especially when you're dealing with people in different regions, different parts of the globe. So those are very important challenges. And obviously, when you have to drive large transformation projects during tough times, I mean, COVID is a classic example, where as a leader, I had to keep focus of the team, continue to deliver on those large projects which we signed up that year. It's tough across the world. People have faced a lot of losses in the families, and still trying to do the best. So you have to take it up with courage. And that's what someone asked me, saying that, what is your leadership style? How do you want to, how did you manage this big transformations? And I keep referring to life, and I define my leadership style as life, LIFE. L is leading with courage. Lead courage, that's leader. And as a leader, I is involved passionately. And F is flexible to team needs. You need to be flexible to team needs. And E is empower people. So simple, fundamental, keep things easy and simple for people to remember your style. I say that remember life. That is what is Sudhir Dasamantharao in terms of leadership style. So
So I think you have used literally all the alphabets in your life to write go. Now I see, I heard A, B, C, D, E, I heard triple C, I heard life now. So life stands for, can you please repeat the L, which stands for?
lead courageously.
Lead courageously. Okay.
Yeah.
I stands for?
I stands for involve passionately. As a leader, you have to be involved. You need to be engaged.
Correct.
Right?
Flexibility.
Flexible to
F
team
stands
needs.
for flexibility.
Yeah, you have to be flexible for team needs. It's not about you alone as a leader. It's all about the team needs. And E is you have to empower people. If you don't empower them, you will be doing their stuff, which is not
Correct.
right.
Very
So
well said and very well articulated,
I
Sudhir.
try to keep so that people remember. The reason I use these alphabets or kind of an jargon is it's easy for people to remember, right? If not, I can give a long answer to a short question, right? So I want people to register because these are the easy terms to register. That's what my communication is always very simple. And that's what people tell me, that we are not confused, we are convinced. What they say.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, if you may have to, give one advice on the change management, I heard you all. Is there anything that you want to say on succession planning as well? Is there anything that you could throw light on?
I think this is succession planning is a bit tricky, right? A lot of organization, every organization wants to create a succession plan. One is there a succession plan which I've seen just on paper, right? Really, they don't get executed. And there are companies I worked where it is a mandatory rotation. For example, the HR head becomes, taken different functional head. The quality head comes and takes up a HR role. I'm just giving examples, right? There are organizations where I've seen those succession plans are effectively implemented. And then how open are you in terms of succession planning? Do you already looking for the same skill set of background? One is obviously the functional expertise, but not at a leadership level. To me, if you ask me, functional expertise is not required, because leadership is all about the vision, the strategy, and the direction, and to lead. It is not about your functional expertise. Functional expertise is required to kind of a mid-level and a bit senior, um, senior roles. So what kind of succession planning are you defining? What kind of competencies you need? Because at a leadership level, there is high competition, right? People compete for, I need this scope. I want to take on more, and you know that you'll hear a lot of this term very often. Politics doesn't not only happen in elections and all. Politics also happen in the organization, right? People say that I'm unable to deal with that pressure.
Oh, yes.
So it is all important that if you have the right succession plan, you're defining what is that next 5 years. Who rotates it, and that has to be more not a theory, right? It has to be practically seen based on the interest of that individual, but also the organization, readiness or organization requirement, right? Sometimes the organization readiness or individual readiness will be there, but organization need may not be there, right? So when both of them match, and these succession plans really work, and that's where I think it's a tough. If you ask me, it is very tough.
Yeah, and even I think succession planning needs a lot of, it is also part of how you handle the succession in the right way, because
Correct.
people need to know if you're really, putting that in place, the transparency. If the communication and transparency is missing, probably people don't take a leader as a leader. It
Correct.
becomes more and more difficult.
Correct. Yeah.
Very true, very true. Um, I think one more question which I would have in your professional journey, which you could have experienced, was um, how to deal with difficult behaviors.
If you ask me, it is easy to deal with. The reason I say why it is easy is to define it. Difficult behaviors will be difficult when you don't have a clarity what you want to achieve out of that. So if you clearly set the expectations, right? So behavioral expectations. For example, as a leader, I say that respect comes first. I say that in organization, we don't have a follow-up culture. And I hate people following up. For example, I really pity sometimes the project managers. Project managers, people think their job is to follow up, right? They keep on following up. Oh, have you done this task? Have you done this task? And they report to the stakeholders. But typically, that's not a PMO role, right? So, and there will be difficult people who don't do the work, neither they respond to the project managers, right? And neither the stakeholders. So you have to be, as a leader, clearly set the expectations. This is what the expectation is from you. The behavior, the respect, how you are communicating, how your conversations in the meetings, right? How respectful you are. You might have a different of opinion. That's fine. You don't need to have agree to everything, right? So, and that's the reason there is a leader who ultimately makes the decision. So whether you like it or not doesn't matter. So there will be people who give tough time. The people say they're very toxic, right? So Because it's very important that when you see those kind of behaviors, I think it's important to correct right there and then.
But tell me one thing, sometimes you also see that the expectations have been well communicated beforehand. They were all, understood. There was clarity in that, but still that person is not giving it 100%, and you are able to see that. And the person is, again coming back, with excuses, or the person is not ready to accept, or because of that the whole culture is spoiled, and the other people seeing him might see that you are giving him an extra chance because he's not finished what he was supposed to.
So always, one, you should give an opportunity to change, right? And there is always a limit how many opportunities you want to give, and that's what, as a leader, you have to take tough calls, right? And those tough calls are important these days, given the pace of change. People don't have much patience, right? So three things I keep telling people: be purposeful, be passionate, be patient. That is the biggest challenge in the current world. People don't know their purpose, what they're running behind. People are not really passionate enough. People have to push them, and they're not patient. Everything has to happen today. It doesn't work that way, right? You don't get promotion every 2 years. You don't get opportunities every year, right? So you need to be patient. That's how you build a career on. So I always tell people that be purposeful, be patient, be passionate.
I see three B's and three B's into it. So I still remember my college days, where I used to make those tough topics into some words, so that if I remember the word, I could remember the whole analogy. And you have reminded me of that. And uh, this is something
Yeah,
which over and over you can use more. You can use for your communication, articulate to people well. When you are, so it shows up as to subconsciously also we need to use these terminologies more and more, so that we are able to remind ourselves that passion needs to be there, purpose needs to be there. Patience should not be compromised all the time. Very
yeah.
wonderfully articulated, Sudhir. I mean, I must say that this was very, very insightful. This was something which, not only gave a clarity that we have so many more alphabets remaining. I would actually recommend you to make some out of those as well.
I have so many, Sachi. I'm a passionate learner. I'm a passionate reader. I'm a passionate trainer. In my career, I did a lot of professional trainings. I coach people. I go to universities to teach. So I'm really passionate that way, because, and I wrote books as well. And one of the quotes in the book I wrote is, life is a continuous learning. Keep learning continues. This is my favorite quote, which helped me constantly reminding Sudhir, there is so much still you need to learn. So my quote is, life is a continuous learning. Keep learning continues. That's important.
Wonderful. It was a very, very heartfelt thanks to you. Very, very invigorating. Very, very nice conversation. I think life definitely is a continuous learning, and that is the reason we are here, making a conversation so that this can be taken far more to those people who are looking forward
Yeah,
to learn from such conversations on their professional journey, on their functional journey, on the way how they are growing and they are aspiring to become big leaders.
absolutely,
Thank you
Sachi.
so much, Sudhir, to
I really
be.
enjoyed this conversation. Thank you very much for talking to me, and hope it helps the audience, and you know keep on improving themselves and be passionate. That's important in life.
Yes, being passionate about everything is the key to, live life fully.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Sudhir.
Wonderful. Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.